You only need to know me. I will be the one.
This video is sponsored by the subscribe button. Show your appreciation to our sponsor by clicking the subscribe button and the like button today. So the final attack from Luffy, this is what some people are calling it as of the end of chapter 1046, but I still think for whatever reason that the fight isn't done yet. I know I mentioned to you guys in the review for chapter 1046 that Luffy readying himself to strike Kaido with lightning is reminiscent of what he did to defeat Shiki in the Strong World movie, which now that I think about it, gives further credence to the idea that Shiki is in some ways a prototype character for Kaido, the basis upon which Oda seems to have written much of the Kaido storyline, because the title of the movie, Strong World, is also similar to Kaido's epithet or nickname, the world's strongest creature or the strongest creature in the world. Maybe there's more to this given Shiki was trying to conquer the world with his strong and mutant creatures. But what Luffy is about to do to Kaido, if paralleled to Shiki, might further hint at Kaido's eventual defeat. Will he fall into the water as Shiki appeared to do in the movie? Will Kaido be captured again by the world government? Will someone actually kill him? If so, who do you guys think? I think we'll make this a separate video. But with every end comes a new beginning, a new era in another sense. The death of Whitebeard by Blackbeard's hand marked the beginning of his era, or at least that's what he claimed. We shortly saw after that the ringing of the ox bell by Luffy, and there is an indication that the ringing of this bell, as many times as Luffy did so for, signified that this was Luffy's era too. And so in that moment, to end out pre-time skip and the war at Marineford, Luffy and Blackbeard are competing for the new era, a competition that should have stretched into post-time skip. But Whitebeard is not the only former Rocks pirate to be defeated. With Wano, it seems like Big Mom lost to Kid-in-Law. Her memory of Roger as her defeat was met by a massive explosion ties into this ending of an era. Her era too, maybe, because Roger's era had to end for this new era to begin, and it is likely Kaido is about to lose as well. His reign as the strongest pirate being passed down, and I think we'll go over the inheritor of that title another day. But do you guys remember Hawkins drawing the tarot card which depicted a bolt of lightning striking the tower? A subscriber had mentioned this to me and pointed out how it reminded him of the final page of chapter 1046 as Luffy holds a lightning bolt over Kaido's head, so shout out to you. The Tower Tarot card is symbolic of the following. Just when you think you're safe and comfortable, a tower moment hits and throws you for a loop. A lightning bolt of clarity and insight cuts through the lies and illusions you have been telling yourself for so long, and now the truth comes to light. Your world may come crashing down before you in ways you could have never imagined as you realize that you have been building your life on unstable foundations. False assumptions, mistruths, illusions, blatant lies, and so on. Everything you thought to be true has turned on its head. Your world is no longer the same. A changing world takes us all the way back even to Doflamingo's speech about the coming throne wars as he mused about what is currently happening here in Wano. A speech that seemed to hint at an overlap or conflict between the Pirate King and the King of the World, but more importantly the conflict that would ensue as the heavy hitters, the biggest players, pirates, marines, revolutionaries, sword, the world government, the top brass from each of these categories would soon collide. Doflamingo warned us about Luffy and Law and even the other worst generation pirates, and how even though he, Doflamingo, was some big bad evil, the chaos the supernova would usher in made him look like a puppy by comparison. In terms of real-world politics, geopolitics, and international affairs or international relations, Doflamingo was a most necessary evil in the world in the sense that it is possible to achieve balance with what is evil and find chaos in what is good. As noble as destroying the gears might sound from Law, or taking down the emperors in Luffy's words, the void that is left behind is problematic. But that is the essence of liberation, right? Being wild and free. That is the story of every liberation effort as people fight to fill power vacuums and decide a new way forward. And with the introduction of the most ridiculous power in the world and the warrior of liberation, expect things to only get more chaotic from here on out. Anyways, Doflamingo's warning about the consequences of taking him down will likely tie into the consequences of taking Big Mom and Kaido down, akin to the falling of dominoes, one at a time, cascading like a series of waves, one after the other. His speech about the monsters in this world that will be unleashed I wonder if any pirates we haven't seen yet will make a move. Pirates on the level of a Luffy, Law, and Kid? Or maybe only the pirate crews of Shanks and Blackbeard remain, and there are no other pirates out there to rise. But the questioning of who stands atop this sea now, who holds sway in these waters, this is the power vacuum I spoke of earlier, the fall of the Shishibukai system as well as the Yonko system. At least as we once knew it, alters Doflamingo's speech significantly. Many worst generation members have fallen too. Drake exposed as a member of Sword, his fate is now unknown. Hawkins defeated by Killer. Apu had even joined Kaido, and maybe his nature compels him to flee and join the Blackbeard pirates. A crew that loves to party perhaps more so than the Beast pirates could use more than one musician. The fall of the Shishibukai and the Emperors has only made the Navy stronger. The Marines, their admirals who are arguably on the level of Emperors, don't have to worry about Whitebeard anymore, and soon Kaido either. Although Blackbeard and Shanks are still obstacles, and Luffy, Law, Kid, and to an extent Sanji and Zoro are growing as a threat in terms of their own power. The Navy is likely to make its move now that the world government has discovered the new god of this era, and the return of Joy Boy. I'm also wondering what will happen if the Marines find out what the world government has been up to in Wano. That conversation between Sengoku and Akainu does leave an impression that they will find out about the weapons dealing, and everything else done to the people of this country. If Fujitora was ashamed and apologized for what happened in Dressrosa, what about Wano Kuni? Akainu seemed to just let it slide. Will he continue to do so? Does he view it as a necessary evil for a broader goal, his concept of absolute justice? Akainu seemed upset that anyone would sully the name of justice by exposing its flaws. Does that include more than other Marines, but also pirates like Luffy, the revolutionaries like Dragon, or even the world government? But Doflamingo then warns us about the D, a people that have hidden themselves and their true names away beneath the currents of history. When will they show themselves and where? Almost as if there are other Ds out there we have yet to learn about. He talks about alliances and betrayals. Have we seen any major betrayals yet? Even Kaido seemed to warn about this, and yet we haven't seen anyone betrayed as of yet. Yamato is a betrayal of the past, for those of you that were considering that. She's never been on her father's side. So what betrayal, outside of Kanjuro or anyone else, can we expect in the near future? We did see Kaido betrayal Orochi, but these are minor betrayals. I'm expecting something much bigger. People thought it would be Big Mom, and that didn't happen, not yet at least. So what did Oda mean by this? What did he mean by betrayal? We then get a warning to the Celestial Dragons and Mary Joie that they will be dragged from their lofty perch, that their reign was also coming to an end. Do you guys think this will happen right after Wano, or do you think this is in reference to the final war? Dofi's speech is a foreshadowing of sorts. I doubt he's just saying all of this just to say it. The ramblings of a madman trapped in solitary confinement for so long. The Sea Stone finally getting to him. But whatever Oda was hinting at through Doflamingo, it is a testament to the biggest battle for power in the history of pirates. Kind of like World War III. It has the atmosphere of Armageddon. I saw something floating around in several places on Twitter, and you should follow me there. My Twitter page is on the screen. And well, let's just say it's led me to consider what happens after the end of Wano. The new era, a new beginning born from another's ending. You can see on the screen here Kaido's facial expression as a Gear 4 Luffy attacks him with Kong Organ during their first encounter on Wano. After Luffy had proclaimed he would be the Pirate King, and Kaido seems disappointed. Now we see at the end of chapter 1046, nearing the end of the Luffy vs Kaido fight, as a Gear 5 Luffy readies an attack, and Kaido is smiling. His opinion of Luffy has taken a 180. It's entirely changed. At first wondering what kind of king Luffy said he would be, to now being receptive to Luffy's stubbornness and refusal to back down from that title. It is this change in Kaido's opinion of Luffy that has me wondering not just how Wano will end, but how this ending will affect the story going forward, and how the world will come to see Luffy. Obviously not the sort of shift we saw in the perception of Roger after he discovered Laugh Tale, with the world anointing him as the Pirate King. Maybe more akin to how Roger was treated after the aftermath of God Valley and the Fall of Rocks. So I'm just going to lay out several options. Not everything I've considered will be mentioned in this video, but for one, the fall of Kaido when added to Big Mom and Whitebeard means the Rocks pirates are finally done. The legacy of Rocks is over. Depending on what Oda has planned for Shiki the Golden Lion, I couldn't find any information on his age, but given the age of piracy he is from, he seems to be around the same age as Whitebeard and Roger. And we all know how sickly Whitebeard was last we saw him. So whether Shiki does make an appearance upon hearing news of Big Mom and Kaido's defeat, who knows? It's also possible Oda will just write in there somewhere that Shiki died an old man's death. Not every pirate gets a legendary one, but beyond legacy there is inherited will, and whatever Rox Dizabek had planned for the world. As a contrast to Goldie Roger, we now see with Blackbeard as opposed to Luffy. Now, usually things slow down a bit after an arc ends, but I get the feeling that this isn't going to happen here. Right after Wano, the world will be different. When Wano ends, everything will change. And rather than go over everything each faction will do, let's take the conversation back to what I mentioned earlier, the new era and Blackbeard versus Luffy. History so often repeats itself, with some minor changes here and there, and nobody can stop it. The notion of fate, or destiny versus free will. In many ways, destiny is a product of both, that which is fated and the free will you have to respond to whatever scenarios are thrown your way. I think the clash of Blackbeard and Ace was one example of that. The sun versus the darkness, a precursor to that final battle, and given Shanks' words to Whitebeard that no one could have stopped this reckless era. I don't think Shanks will be able to stop what Blackbeard has planned after Wano either, although he will likely try or has likely been trying. I also don't think Luffy will be able to stop what Blackbeard has planned for Shanks. I personally think with the introduction of the Sun God, we will soon hear news of what the Moon God, or better yet the God of Darkness, Blackbeard has been up to. And for my expanded thoughts on this, watch the video on the screen and in the links below. But if Luffy seems ready to take down the world's strongest creature and Blackbeard already took down the world's strongest man, you can see the parallel. Each of those incidents led to chaos and great change. Blackbeard became an emperor, and it stands to reason Luffy will have truly earned his title as an emperor after Kaido falls. Luffy promised to defeat Big Mom on his own. Who knows if that will still happen? Will she be captured alongside Kaido, or most likely rescued by her children who have been sitting around Wano doing practically nothing for the most part? After what Luffy has done to Kaido, it's hard to imagine him fighting and defeating Big Mom in a 1v1 being a surprise to anyone. It would be kind of common sense. But again, the parallel of each taking down an emperor, Blackbeard and Luffy. The only other Yonko that remains is Shanks, and given the history of Blackbeard and Shanks, the history of these two, Blackbeard and Shanks are definitely going to fight sometime after Wano, or maybe we're here to lay the news about what's already happened. Wano is an isolated country, so the Straw Hats and others have no idea what's been going on the outside. Sabo being captured, Blackbeard's movements and whereabouts, the fall of the Shishibukai, and so much more. Imagine finding out that Shanks was defeated. I know many of us would like to have Shanks meet Luffy again before that happens, and increasingly I'm in favor of that. Or imagine finding out there was a meeting or clash between Blackbeard and the Red-Haired Pirates. I've always had it in my head that Shanks needs to take a W, at least one W in a major way before he dies. I can't imagine a situation in which this mysterious character, a fan favorite, my personal favorite, does practically nothing fighting-wise. Everything off-screen, only for us to find out that he has died. Yeah, please don't do that, Oda. But imagine, like we so often do, imagine seeing the news coup or birds relaying the outside world's events when the Wano arc ends, as the borders of Wano are opened and we see the news coup flying overhead. A symbolic gesture. Or maybe some new arrivals from the outside informing them what was happening here as they were busy, caught up fighting this war. Then again, Wano being isolated, its borders currently being closed, the fact that Law had Big Mom's defeat in a silent room, and the fact that Kaido's defeat might not make it to the outside world, really leaves you to wonder if this was all written intentionally. If Oda did so because he intends to not raise Luffy's bounty that much after the arc is over. Oftentimes, things will happen and then governments will cover it up so that the status quo doesn't change too much. And maybe that's one option. Maybe Big News Morgans doesn't find out until later on, but I would be surprised if he doesn't have sources everywhere, even in Wano Kuni. But notice that whenever Luffy does something crazy that alarms the world government or disrupts the established order, so does Blackbeard. Again, taking us back to the saying that the D will always cause another storm. The storm of Luffy as he approached Whole Cake Island to challenge Big Mom was coupled with the arrival of a newspaper detailing how the Blackbeard pirates had clashed with Dragon and the revolutionaries on Baltigo. We see Blackbeard's involvement via Burgess during Dressrosa as they tried to steal not just Ace's Mare Marinomi but also Luffy's Devil Fruit was a target. Little did we know then that Luffy had eaten the Devil Fruit of the Sun God Nika, and so in a way, whether knowingly or not, Blackbeard was after two sun fruits, one of Fire Logia, the other a mythical Zoan. Going back to Impel Down even, the pattern of Blackbeard causing chaos simultaneously with Luffy as well as going after people closest to Luffy continues. From his father Monkey D. Dragon, to Ace's Devil Fruit, to Impel Down and letting Luffy know that he, Blackbeard, was responsible for Ace's execution, that it was all part of his plan, although Blackbeard had initially intended for Luffy to be the one to die. Again, it makes you wonder about the last person, or really the last two people closest to Luffy that are still alive, and have some importance to the story. Shanks and Sabo. But more importantly, while Luffy's approaching defeat of Kaido will send shockwaves around the world, what is Blackbeard up to now? What is he simultaneously doing that can match the defeat of Kaido and Big Mom and the liberation of Wano? After Whitebeard fell, he went to conquer Whitebeard's territories. Will Blackbeard do so again with Big Mom? Does Kaido have other territories out there beyond Wano? If Luffy has aligned himself with one or two ancient weapons, shouldn't Blackbeard at least get one? If Luffy has created such a vast alliance, shouldn't Blackbeard have his own to match Luffy's? If Luffy now has a mythical Zoan god, Devil Fruit, that exhibits properties of Zoans, Paramecia, and maybe even Logia, doesn't it only make sense for Blackbeard to get a third Devil Fruit, or to have done so while we're here in Wano? I'll just summarize a few of my ideas quickly. If Luffy and his peers from this generation take down Big Mom and Kaido, Blackbeard might have fought Shanks and either lost or won. Maybe Blackbeard attacks Big Mom's territory, maybe he plans to come to Wano to take advantage of the chaos Luffy has started. I'm guessing he, like others, needs some of the road poneglyphs, and Big Mom and Kaido have two combined. But the only way to really answer these questions comes down to what Blackbeard's motivation is. Why does he do what he does? Wealth, fame, and power. Roger's final words. It seems like the only one that applies to Blackbeard so far is power. Recruiting strong crew members, collecting or stealing powerful devil fruits for his crew, stealing territory, killing other pirates or anyone that tries to get in his way. After becoming an emperor, the only title that remains is King, the Pirate King. And given Luffy's new power-up, there's only a few characters out there besides Blackbeard that are standing in his way. As the borders open and the sun rises over Wano, expect the sun to set over the rest of the world as Blackbeard, God of Darkness, makes his move. The oldest theory surrounding him has been that of the wolf Fenrir, the wolf that eats the sun, whether that means causing chaos for the rest of the world with no equals to oppose him, attacking the celestial dragons or the Gorosei, the five elder stars, stars being suns, or trying to kill Luffy to steal his devil fruit if he learns that it belonged to the sun god. Or maybe it's just symbolic, the wolf eating the sun, the darkness swallowing the light, the moon that also rises as Bink Sake describes, the moon that temporarily covers the sun, and the moon that marks its own era in darkness, to eclipse the sun in the sky, as you can see in this One Piece anime opening, marking the true beginning of Blackbeard's era, until eventually the sun rises again, marking the beginning of Luffy's own. But as usual, we will have to wait and see. Don't forget to like the video, comment with your thoughts below, share this with your friends, and subscribe. Also click the notification bell. And if you're a Twitter, feel free to give me a follow on there as well. As always, there's more to come. Until next time.